Welcome to the Get Sculpted podcast. We're your hosts, Tiana,
Jordana,
and Marilynn.
This podcast is all about cutting through the noise and giving you the real deal on fat loss, muscle building, and what it really takes to build your 2.0 sculpted self, inside and out. Our motto is to work smarter, not harder. We'll break down science-based and actionable strategies to optimize your metabolism, ditch the diets, and create a sustainable, fit, and healthy lifestyle that actually works for you. So if you're ready to get stronger, not just skinnier, and embrace a body you love, hit that subscribe button and let's get sculpted.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Get Sculpted podcast. Today's episode is extra special for me because I am sitting down with someone who plays a huge role in the work we do at Get Sculpted, and it is my assistant coach, Barb Svab. So, Barb, welcome to the Get Sculpted podcast.
Thank you. I feel so honored.
So excited to have you. So, for our listeners, if you don't know already, Barb and I are both teachers. In fact, she is still in a teaching role while also being an amazing coach with our team. And Barb and I have both spent many, many years in the classroom working with students of all ages before we shifted to the world of health and fitness coaching. And we talk about this all the time, but what's really wild is just how much coaching and teaching actually have in common. So this episode is not just about our journey, although you will hear a lot about the journey from teaching to coaching. It is for you, as always. If you have struggled with staying consistent, if you have ever felt like you're failing at your goals, or you're just trying to figure out how to be more coachable in your own transformation, we are breaking all of this down today in our conversation, talking about mindset, motivation, how to get out of that all or nothing cycle, and how you can be a student of your own journey. So settle in. We are ready to dive in. Barb, are you ready?
I'm ready.
So I think this chat is going to really hit home with our listeners. And the best place to start, of course, is at the beginning. So what I would love for you to share is, let's take it back. What made you want to become a teacher in the first place?
Well, I've always had a heart for helping people. I want to help people grow. I want them to shine. It's just who I am. And I felt like teaching was just the right way to make that impact. I can guide others. I can support them in their learning. One of my favorite things is when I am supporting somebody and they have that light bulb moment, that, aha, I get it. Like, I know when that happens to me personally, I'm so excited. So when I can see that I can add that and contribute that to somebody else, I just love that moment. I believe it's important to meet people where they are in their journey and help them grow, understanding where they want to get to, where they're at, and guide them along the way and support them along the way. So I think that's basically right in line with teaching, coaching and teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And I relate to that too, feeling that same way in the classroom where you would see a student, especially if they've been struggling with something for a long time. And then all of a sudden it's like, you put in the reps with them and then they get it. That light bulb goes off and then it's like, boom, right? Like a kid just like takes off from there. I love that. So what would you say was the turning point for you? Like, when did you know that you wanted to take that passion that you have for teaching and apply it to health and fitness coaching?
It really started with my own story. I've always been focused on my health. I have a background in running and just trying to feel better in my body. And as I went deeper in trying to develop muscle tone and becoming healthier, I put in my time. I did my research. And as I did so much research, I realized there's a lot of information and a lot of misinformation out there. And then you start seeing like, you should be doing this and eating less of this, and you should be eating more of that, and a lot of things conflicting with each other. And it's kind of like, okay, well, what do I do? And then, I just kept digging deeper and deeper, and then decided getting my certification, doing the education, putting in that work is the best way to find those answers, and not only for myself, but to help others. And, as I was learning more about how to take care of myself to be healthier, that passion of wanting to help others, like, now that I know, I want to share it. I want to give it away to other women and help them. And coaching is just like a new way to teach. It's personal, transformational. I love it.
I love that too. And also for our listeners, if you didn't know this, Barb and I, we met as coach and client. So I still am coaching Barb, but she for the longest time was just a client of mine. And I actually do remember that. Lots and lots of questions, which as a coach you love, because I've had clients say like, oh, I'm so sorry if it's annoying that I ask questions. And I'm always saying, no, ask questions, because it shows me you're invested in the process. It shows me you want to learn. And that's actually what's going to allow you to make this a lifelong change instead of something you just do because someone's giving you marching orders and then you do something else when that person's not beside you. So do you think that your background in teaching then makes you a different kind of coach?
Absolutely. I think, the background in teaching and already working and supporting others just goes hand in hand with being a coach. And it gives you a lot of patience and a lot of compassion. I think that's the big one too, patience and compassion. People learn at their own speed. When it comes to weight loss and muscle gain, everybody develops their own pace. So being able to be patient and compassionate with them. And, when they're stressing out and things aren't going according to the plan they think, it should be, you're just telling them, trust the process. You're holding their hand. You're a partner with them in this journey. So
I love that.
That's something I enjoy. I like that, we break things down much like in teaching. We don't give them a big concept and just run with it. We break it down. We do it into steps. Even how we teach, right? We model things first. Then we do guided lessons and shared before we release them to do it independently.
So they fly away.
Right? So everything is very chunked and it's manageable and it's realistic. And not everybody learns the same way, which we've kind of touched on. Everybody learns at their own pace. So being able to know where they're at and know that end plan and being there to encourage them. And as a teacher, when something's up. When somebody, a student is feeling overwhelmed, they're just not getting it, they're checked out, or they just need somebody to encourage them. And, that's a skill that works with our clients as well. So
absolutely. And I think you hit it on the head as well. I have strong views. We won't go into that in this episode, but why cookie cutter programs don't work for people long term. Because you said a few things like meeting people where they're at. Everybody learns at their own pace. Everybody's pace and process is different because their lives are different. So if you are only teaching one way, one method, then a lot of people will fall off the edge. They'll slip through the cracks because it doesn't apply to their particular circumstances. And then the other thing is overwhelm. So many women talk to us about how things they've tried in the past, or even they're scared to embark on a fitness journey because of the fear of overwhelm. That's our job as coaches and teachers to help reduce that overwhelm, right? And make it a realistic change for people so they don't feel like they have to overhaul absolutely everything. So I love all of that. Let's dive a little deeper into teaching and coaching and the connection there, because I tell everybody, especially when, I've left the classroom now, but people will say to me, do you miss teaching? And I'm like, not really, because I'm still teaching, right? Coaching is teaching. It's just a different curriculum and a different student in front of you. So what is one thing or some things that you learned as a teacher that you use every day in your coaching practice? What are some of the things that you use?
I want to say definitely building a connection and making a safe place for our clients. That is, a big thing when you're working in the classroom and you want the children to have a safe space where they can take risks and take chances and also trust you. That's the same with a client, building that connection where they feel they have a safe relationship with you. They're heard, they're being supported, they're taking chances and trusting you and trusting the process. So definitely that parallel there. We kind of already talked about how, you're chunking those bite-sized goals into they're little tiny pieces, as we called it, chunking in the classroom. So making sure that that's something that we do with our clients as well, because like you said, they don't want to be given a big, huge overhaul task to do. That's just too much. It's too overwhelming. And then that's when they'll shut down. So making sure that, there are steps and we're not going to rush things, take our time, nice pace. And we want to celebrate the process, not just the wins. In the classroom, student, yes, we're going to celebrate if they, get the right answer, or, in gym class, they make that basket. But we celebrate everything. We celebrate the effort. We celebrate showing up. We celebrate you're an active participant in your learning. So celebrating everything, not just the results, but the whole process and the journey along the way.
That's so good. Because you know what? It sounds cliche, but it's true. The journey is the reward. And I tell clients all the time that if we just went 0 to 100, first of all, that's really difficult to do and very overwhelming. But let's just say we could go 0 to 100. You're missing all of those steps in between. And those are the very steps that you build on that will actually make this a lifelong change. Because again, if you do something and make a change fast and furious, you're not learning. You're not taking time to apply that and make it real for yourself. So I love that, celebrating the journey and helping women understand that we don't just celebrate a lower number on the scale or when you look a certain way. There are points along the journey where you can celebrate from day one until, well, there's no end because fitness is forever, but all the time. So I think that's really great. I think one of the biggest challenges we see too is when clients are struggling or they feel stuck. And again, parallels to the classroom for sure, because of course we see, and I saw children who were struggling. When you have a client who's just like, they're just not getting it, they are frustrated. And you can also see that there's maybe like undertones of, I'm going to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. How would you handle a client like that?
Like I would with my students, it's not failure, it's learning, right? Like there's no such thing as failure. You're showing up, you're trying, you're trusting the process, and this is all a learning experience. You try to look at the situation from different angles, new strategies to approach. How can I support you more? But we always go back to the small wins as well. And as you said, these wins aren't always the number on the scale. It's how are you feeling? You decided to go work out today and maybe you didn't feel like you would, or, you jumped on a call with a coach because you needed to talk to somebody. You're taking care of yourself. You're advocating for yourself.
That's true.
Those are all wins. And so we have to acknowledge them all and just build that confidence and help them believe in themselves and know that they can do whatever they put their mind to. Like it is possible. But again, like there is no such failure. You move forward. We all have a bad day. And you know what? You just move forward from there.
It's so true. I know Coach T always says, like, when women look into our Get Sculpted community and they see all these women that are doing amazing things and being successful, and they think that could never be me. Coach T always says, like, these women are not unicorns. Like, they're special, but they don't have the special, perfect circumstances that you don't think you have. It's what you said about building belief in themselves, because sadly, but it doesn't have to be this way forever, a lot of women don't take the chance on themselves. They don't believe in themselves. Partly because they feel they failed in the past. So they kind of have that going into something new. But it's empowering women. I think that's like such a special thing that we do. We give them the gift of empowerment. I love it. So I think this next question I want to ask you is, there is a difference between just giving someone information and actually coaching them or teaching them. And I remember like a very big shift in teaching in the 18 years that I taught, where, a teacher was once stand at the front of the classroom, like just spew information, to you are a partner in the child's learning, which is very much how I see our role. So how would you describe that difference? Like just here's some information, here's your nutrition and training versus actually coaching someone to create transformation.
Well, information, as we know, is everywhere. Instagram is filled with information, the internet, everywhere. Like the information is out there. So that piece isn't what's missing.
Right.
If somebody wants to, how do I lose weight? They can search and find that answer. What they really need for transformation, though, is something that's custom to them. Again, all our learners, they don't learn the same way. It is not one way to teach. It's not one way to transform. It needs to be custom to them. They need a plan with a strategy and intention that is very specific to them, their goals, their needs. And they also need ongoing support as well, like a coach to talk to turn to if they have questions, they're not sure how to handle something, even if it's, something regarding their meal plan. And I want to have this, but can I sub it out for this? Like, just having somebody guiding them along the way. And I think by having that coach too, they also are accountable. Like that's a big thing. I know in my, journey, I'll work out here and there, or, maybe I won't put in all the reps, or I won't go heavy, or, I'll take a week off because I don't feel like it. And there's a difference between that and when you're accountable to somebody.
Yep.
And in a good way, you're accountable to somebody.
Yeah, we're not your boss.
Yeah, like, quitting, so to speak, isn't really an option anymore when you have somebody that's working with you. So I think, transformation happens when the client feels seen, they're heard, and they're guided, which is like, I think a big parallel with students as well. They want to feel like they're being guided to their goal. They're not being told what to do. And being consistent is a big thing too. It's not about being perfect. Nobody's perfect. Just going back to teaching, I remember talking to parents and, it would be the very first progress report of the year. Yeah. And parents are, want to know, is my child a level 4? Like right off the bat, are they a level 4?
I was going to say, for our listeners, that's like an A, like that's like upper level.
Yes, sorry. Teacher lingo. Yeah. And you want to tell them like, they're doing amazing, but if they were an A++ right now, then you're telling me that there's no room for them to grow anymore and they've basically peaked. And so, it's not about perfection. It's about consistency and constantly building on that.
I love that. And just going back quickly to what you said about it being like information overload, I think that that's really hard for a lot of women too. And you mentioned this already. There's no shortage of info. It's like this and this and this conflicts with this. And it's so hard to like muddle through. And the other thing as well is when someone goes and just like downloads something, that's like a static snapshot versus what you said about how real transformation happens with accountability and strategy and customization. Because we are dynamic human beings. Our lives change constantly. Our circumstances change. And so if you don't have something that changes with you or has the flexibility to change with you, then you kind of are setting yourself up to fail because you're now trying to fit yourself into this box, whereas the box needs to change shape as you go through life. Okay, let's switch gears a bit because now I want to really talk to the listener and talk about what it means to be coachable. Because this is where I think the teacher in you and I really shows up because we know how powerful being coachable is. And just again, for our listeners, whether you know a lot about teaching or not, before Barb and I were able to go into the classroom, we had to be coached by a mentor teacher. You actually go through a whole process where you are mentored and coached by a senior teacher. So this is where I think we shine. So in your experience, what makes someone really coachable? What do you think?
You know what? I think something that's really, really important is someone who is willing to try. Even if they're scared of the process, unsure of the process, they are willing to try. You need to be open to feedback too. Like we talked about, you're going to have great days. You're going to have not so great days. You can do something amazing and, we all have strengths, but we always have next steps as well. Everybody always has next steps.
Yep.
So being able to take that feedback. Communication is huge. If something is not right, speak up. Let's talk. It's not fun when people disappear on you.
It is not.
We need that communication.
How can we help if we don't know what's going on?
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And again, like not expecting that perfection. We just want commitment. We want trust. We want a partnership and we want commitment. And I think a lot of clients who felt we're perfect, but they kept showing up, kept learning, they become successful in their journey.
Yeah, we see that all the time. The successful clients we have, that is part of it, is that they see missteps and challenges as opportunities to grow. And what's really interesting about everything you just said about being coachable is really kind of cool because when I get on a call with someone initially, when they book like a discovery call or they just want to know more about Get Sculpted, about me, about you, they tell me all about themselves and we go through a lot of questions so I can get to know them. But then I turn it around and I say, okay, now I'm going to tell you what I expect from the woman in front of me or the woman in front of Barb. The very first thing I say is, you need to be coachable. You need to be open to feedback. You need to know that this is a partnership. You need to know, I actually tell them, I'm like, it's a dialogue, not a monologue. It's not a dictatorship. I am your partner in this. I'm not your boss. I'm going to get you to where you want to be. But for me to do that, you have to show up too. And being coachable is part of that. So I know a lot of women, though, they feel nervous. They really feel nervous and maybe even sometimes ashamed to ask for help because they've tried things in the past and they feel they failed. And a lot of women struggle with perfectionism, like we said. They feel like if they can't do it all, then what is the point? So what advice would you give to a woman who is in this headspace right now where she feels she's tried everything and she's just failed time after time? Or she feels like life is chaos right now. I can't do it perfectly. So what the heck is the point of even trying? Why bother? What advice would you say to a woman in that headspace?
Well, I think, you know what? I want to say most of us have probably been there. So we totally understand where she's coming from. We all have struggles. It's normal to have struggles. And we need to remember to be kind to ourselves. I may have different struggles than somebody else, but it doesn't mean that it's not as hard for me to get through something, even if it's a different type of struggle. So being patient with them and understanding and definitely being able to relate to them and that they understand, like, I get it. I think that what you said about like asking for help is not a weakness, it's a strength.
Yes, agreed.
You are advocating for yourself. When you ask for help, you are advocating. And this is a strength. And this is where we can come in and help you. And I think the last thing is, don't let the past define you. It doesn't matter what you've tried in the past. It's what you've learned. Everything's a learning experience. Even if it didn't work, whatever you tried in the past, it's still a benefit because you've learned and you've grown from there. And now you're coming to us to help you for support. But yeah, don't live in the past. I love the saying where there's a reason why the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield.
Ooh, I've never heard that and I just got goosebumps.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Say that again. I love that.
There's a reason why the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield. Always be moving ahead, look at the bright future that's ahead of you.
I love it. And I'm going to plug us and Get Sculpted because we do it different. So even if you're in that headspace, of course, be kind to yourself, get the help you need, the support. Don't let that past define you, but also know that there is a different way that doesn't involve restriction and taking things away and making you shrink. What we do is we help you grow. We approach this from an abundance mindset. And so I love everything you just said. And I think that level of support changes everything for women. So I want to dig just a bit deeper here. Why do you think so many women, though, and I want to talk about women specifically over 40 because we do work with typically women 35 plus. So in that age range, like over 40, why do you think they struggle with being coached after years of doing it themselves?
Well, I think it's probably the mentality of that we should know how to figure it out, especially with all the information available out there. Just that mindset of like, I should be able to figure this out on my own. I should be able to do it myself. I'm smart enough. I should be able to do this, And I think the burnout as well, like a lot of quick fixes, a lot of false promises. And I think it's that fear of failing again and wasting time or money. And I think a big thing is just being vulnerable.
Yeah, people don't like that.
No.
It's hard.
There's a difference. Like you said, if I download, a generic workout plan and a generic meal plan, and, you want to feel like, oh, I can do this myself. But to be able to like surrender, like you are surrendering and being vulnerable. But by being able to do that, that's where you begin to grow and you learn. And eventually you will be properly educated to move forward and become more independent.
I love that. A couple things stuck out for me when you were talking about that. First, I want to go back to like figuring it all out. I feel like as women, we are fixers. We are the take care of everythingers. And I think that we're so used to taking care of everything for everyone that we just assume like, yeah, we got to figure this stuff out ourselves. So that's the first thing. And the second thing was about the vulnerability because it is scary as heck to feel vulnerable. I think about the conversations we have with clients about stepping out of your comfort zone, doing the things that's scary, like feel the fear and do it anyway. And again, I know it's cliche, but I speak from personal experience here. Everything amazing comes from stepping out of that comfort zone that you're in, right? You stay stuck when you feel comfortable. It's like comfort doesn't always mean good. So I totally relate to actually a lot of the things you said because when I think about my times of struggle on my own fitness journey, it was everything you said, all of those things. I'm like, yep, that was me. So take a chance on yourself because you absolutely are capable. Again, we don't coach unicorns. We coach real women like our listeners. Okay, last thing I want to get into is let's talk now to the listener about how they can be their own best student, right? So we've already established like coaching and teaching, the parallels are crazy. And in this role, we actually get to help women become students of their own lives. So what's one mindset shift you see in clients that like unlocks transformation to actually transform? Not just change for a bit and then go back to old ways of doing things. True transformation from the inside out. What's the mindset shift you see?
I think when they realize how important it is to be consistent, being consistent and realizing that it's a process and it's a journey and there are no quick fixes out there and there's no, magic pill and magic workout where you're going to be in your best shape in like 10 days or whatever.
like 6 weeks till a six pack. No.
Yeah,
not happening.
No. Them understanding that it is a journey and just being consistent is huge.
Yeah.
And also a big thing is that number on a scale. Like we put so much value or have put so much value into what that number is. And it is not a reflection of who you are and your strength. Like I remember being that person before. And then once I got being coached by you and then also becoming a coach, a better understanding of how women's bodies are such a treat, especially over 40. But, like I'll get on a scale and in the past, overnight, I could be 4 pounds heavier.
Yeah.
And in the past, I would get on the scale and start thinking, oh my gosh, I can't eat today. Or, I have to work
Yeah.
out extra hard. And now I'm like, all right, body, what are we up to? And that number means nothing to me because I know I didn't gain 4 pounds of fat in like 24 hours.
Exactly.
Our bodies have a mind of their own.
Yeah.
So definitely, while the scale does show progress, it's not the only way to gauge your progress in this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We know this all or nothing thinking that a lot of women have. Like you said, you were guilty of it. I was guilty of it. And what it does is it keeps you in a fixed mindset. And it's a big block for a lot of women. So one of the things we talk about, or maybe do they still talk about? They should in teaching, was having a growth mindset.
Yeah.
That mindset that helps you understand that everything is an opportunity to learn and grow and bring it on because this is exciting. Like it's an opportunity to get to the next level as opposed to fixed mindset. Oh, these are my circumstances. Nothing everything sucks. I can't change. So how do you help women move into this growth mindset, especially when they come to you with this fixed mindset? I know you've touched on a few things, but I think it's important to really drive this point home because growth mindset is where it's at. So how do you help women move there?
I think it's that reminder that setbacks are not the end. They are a path. It's that whole when, one door closes, another one opens. When people talk about this didn't work out for me or I really wanted this in life, you got to trust that there's a reason that something greater is waiting for you and you are deserving of that. So the setback is just guiding us onto where we need to go in your journey. And I help them reflect on what's working. We're not going to focus on what doesn't work. What may not work is guiding us even more to what is working for you. Celebrating their non-scale wins, having more energy. I love hearing the testimonials of women talking about how they have more energy, especially with their kids, the more confidence, they're wearing outfits that they didn't think they would wear.
Shopping their closet.
Yes. Lifting heavier weights, speaking from, a family member who didn't think she could lift heavy at all. I remember giving her 10 pounds and she was like, I can't work out with 10 pounds. And now she's lifting like crazy. She's loving it and she's just going heavier and heavier.
And hip thrusting, crazy weight and all of that. And this is what we talk about when we say we empower women. We open the door to what's possible. And it really is life-changing. So when we talk about transformation, that's what we mean. We don't just mean the physical transformation you're going to undergo. You show up different. Your energy, your strength, your confidence. We've talked about this in other podcast episodes, but I always say that fitness is the vessel that allows you to be your strongest self in all areas of your life. And it was one of the reasons I made the transition from teaching to coaching. It's because I got so strong in one area of my life. And I was like, I want to feel this good in all the areas. So I'm going to create boundaries. I'm going to get myself out of environments that no longer serve me. And I was building. And then you just feel like you're this confident woman who can show up in any situation. And it is a journey. So you're never done. But like you said, every time something does not work out, let's say, and I'm using air quotes for our listeners, it's not that you did something wrong. I love how you framed it, that it's just directing you in a different way, putting you in a different direction to something that's more aligned with who you are and who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world. So I love that so much. Okay, I have one last question for you. I know it's been a firing squad here, but yeah, you want to interview me next time. We can talk to me next time. But this is for the woman listening right now who wants to be a better student of her own journey. She's ready, but she's still thinking, where on earth do I start? So where should she start? If there's a woman out there listening saying, dang it, I am ready, I'm fired up, what do they do?
I think they really need to be honest with themselves. I spoke about how they need to be vulnerable when they come to a coach. They need to be vulnerable with themselves as well. They need to be real about where they are at life. What do they want for themselves? What do they truly want for themselves? And admitting that they need the help, that they need the guidance. They definitely need to commit to doing it differently and doing it one step at a time instead of trying, like we talked earlier about, a huge overhaul of their entire life. You don't have to shake everything up, but little tiny shakes are what we need to do. A little jig. consistency again over perfection. We're not looking for perfection. We want consistency. Consistency is progress, and progress is what gets you to your goals. And like you said, the journey never fully ends. We always want to work and be our best selves. If it ends, that means we've peaked and we're not capable of more. And that's not true. Being vulnerable and allowing themselves to receive support from us. They spend so much time, energy, and money on other people in life. It's time that they give attention to themselves and, start loving themselves. And, something that I think about too, like I do have friends who would want to get into this journey, but feel like, I don't have the time. I'm always, taking care of my kids and I work and, I want to be there for my daughter and, I want her to grow up and always felt like mom was there. I tell them that's a wonderful thing. And yes, it's wonderful that they're going to grow up and know mom was always there for me. She spent time with me. But they also should grow up seeing that mom loved herself too. Mom loves me enough that she's taking care of herself and being her best, healthiest self for herself and for me. Remember that you're worthy of it. Sometimes they just don't think, again, putting themselves on the back burner and taking care of everybody else and everything else. And it's like, you are just as important, if not more important. Your biggest investment is you and your body and your life and the quality of your life. And you want to live a quality of life. So you got to invest in yourself and put yourself first.
I love that. You're right. It doesn't take away from your kids, your family. It gives them the best version of you. And I do love it. Like, I don't mean to kind of, if this sounds harsh, but, a lot of women say like, I can't do this because I have to, spend my time with my kids or my money has to go to their sports, yada, yada, yada. Cool. I get it. I have nieces in competitive dance. I know life is expensive. I know time is precious, but I'm going to be really blunt here. Like, don't you want to be around to see your kids grow up? And it might sound dramatic, but the truth is every decision you make today and tomorrow and the next day impacts the next day and next week and next year. You have to make choices now. What's that saying? If you don't make time for your wellness, you'll be made to make time for your illness. Yeah. So it's like, if you love your kids that much, give them the gift of you being around when they're adults. Give them the gift of knowing that self-love and taking care of yourself, like you said, should be the priority, and give them permission, especially the women in your life, to just show up for themselves. I love this. This was so great. Thank you so much for being here. It means so much to me, obviously, and I'm so glad our listeners are getting a chance to know you. My best sidekick, the two of us, we do everything together. And I know our audience is walking away with a lot of value and a lot of light bulb moments that, remind them that their journey does not have to be perfect. It just has to be theirs. They just have to show up. And to the women listening right now, we hope that you're leaving this episode feeling encouraged and a little bit more empowered to be the student and the success story of your own transformation. And I'm going to say it, if you've been trying to do this on your own and you are ready for real support, our doors are always open. Barb and I are here for you. So is our entire amazing Get Sculpted team. And we want to walk alongside you and help you grow into this 2.0 version of yourself. Send us a message, leave us a review, share this episode with someone in your life that you care about. That way we can reach more amazing women like you. And thank you again, Barb. You were a delight to have on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you had fun.
Yes. Lots of questions, Marilynn.
Yes. I love it. You did amazing. And I know our audience thinks so too. So thanks for listening. We will talk to you next time. Bye for now. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Get Sculpted. We hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take the next step in your fitness journey. Remember, building your 2.0 body is a unique journey for you. It's about showing up for yourself consistently and not being perfect.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review and tag us on social at getsculpted.ca. Your feedback helps us reach more women like you who are ready to cut through the noise and make lasting changes.
For more daily tips, inspiration, and behind-the-scenes content, follow us on Instagram and check out our handles in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Get Sculpted. Until then, remember this: getting sculpted isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter.